Dune Awakening is right around the corner. It is officially launching for PC and console on June 10th and early access on June 5th. Now, when this game first announced, I think a couple years ago now, many players were really excited for this, especially me, because it was announced as an open world MMORPG. And then the further we got into development and the more we heard about the game, it went from an open world MMORPG more into an open world survival MMO with some MMORPG features. I recently played the beta that it had. I had a good time, but in this video I was thinking about covering everything you need to know about Dune Awakening, all the survival mechanics, the base building mechanics, the PvP, the monetization, the private servers, basically everything you need to know before you get into Dune Awakening, and if you guys should check it out. So let's just jump into the video. Now, being a Dune game, of course, it is the setting, the world is all related to the Dune series. If you guys don't know anything about Dune, it is basically you live on a sand planet. You're gonna see a lot of sand everywhere, and if you follow the Dune series, it's gonna be basically following the storyline of Dune. You'll be able to select between two different factions, which is House Atreides and or House Harkonnen. You probably heard about the meme too, Lisan al-Gaib.
The Lisan al-Gaib, the mother of the Lisan al-Gaib. No, he's not Lisan al-Gaib.
If you are a Dune fan, you're going to be following the storyline. I played a little bit of the beta, like I said, and the storyline was absolutely phenomenal. So if you're a guy that enjoys the storyline, you will probably have a lot of fun just, diving deep into this lore and the storyline of the game. And then, like I talked about, you can select between two factions, and depending on the faction you choose, you will basically, socialize with different players from your own faction. You'll be able to get like different passives, different outfits, depending on the faction you choose. So make sure you guys select carefully. I haven't decided yet, but that is mainly like the storyline of the game will follow like the Dune settings or the Dune story, right? Now, when it comes to the game itself, the core of the game is the survival mechanics. It all depends on the survival mechanics. So we got to talk about the survival mechanics in this game. And the first thing, of course, is if you're on a sand planet, guys, what do you expect? Of course, you're going to need water, hydration. Hydration is one of the most important things in the game. Of course, later on in the game, hydration and survivability will become easier. But if you guys played any type of survival games, survival games that you guys probably played is probably Once Human is one of the recent ones. So you will see a lot of the same features inside this game, but different. It's built different type of way. You have to do different type of systems. But if you're used to playing a survival game, you have to do like the basic survival things. Getting water. It has some blood collecting that you need to do in the game too. Heat management is one of the first things that you will get introduced to. Stay in the shade. The more sun you take, the harder it will be to move around. So usually during nighttime, you will see a lot of players moving around. But you want to prevent a sunstroke, move around during cooler hours and stuff like that. Food, you want to make sure you have enough food. Food help manage your stamina, your buffs, etc. Environment, of course, it is the sandworm. If you roam around, if you guys watch Dune, if you haven't watched Dune, I can explain. If you move around, the sandworms around the world can hear the noise you make. And you might die if you get hit or get taken by a sandworm. So it's all about like the surviving ability. And if you die in this game from a worm or a heat stroke, you actually have a risk of losing all your stuff. So it's pretty hardcore at the start. You have to be kind of careful learning how you survive this game. But the main thing, it is a survival game. So of course it has the survival mechanics, but also have base building. So you can build bases in this game. You have to build shelters, protect yourself from the sandstorm and the sun. It's gonna be really important, and you're gonna be crafting hubs. So it's gonna be like a progression thing. You will start with the basic stuff, walls and stuff, and then start building stuff to manage your water, manage your blood, craft food, craft armor, craft gear, all that stuff. So it follows like a progression system throughout, and of course the deeper you get into the game, the easier it will be for you to survive right in this world. So the base building, again, it was really fun to build some bases, but I wish that it was, it is the beta, so many things can change, but I'm hoping that they have some more diversity when it comes to bases, right? Like more colors or some way to make your base unique, because a lot of other survival games do really good thing, but for me it just felt like a lot of the bases look kind of the same. So hopefully they do a little bit of a switch up on that, but it is critical in this game. The survival mechanics is like the core of the game. The base building, making sure you're crafting, make sure you follow progression. Most of the progression happens through crafting and base building. So early game survival is very challenging, but it does get easier later on. So in my opinion, that's like the main thing I don't like about survival games, is that the start is really fun and engaging, but the later you get on into the survival game, it becomes way easier. And I kind of felt like the same thing with Dune Awakening, especially when it comes to the survival mechanics of the game. Some people might find the survival mechanics, annoying, but you're playing a survival game, so you kind of have to expect it, right? So when it comes to the overall world, how you travel or you move around, you do have some special skills that you can use to move faster throughout the world. You have like grappling hooks, you have like zip lines, you can crawl the mountains, all that stuff. The world is seamless with server transitions between zones. So overall, it is a proper open world. However, I do think some of the controls when it comes to certain things, like climbing and stuff, did feel a little bit awkward, especially during terrain climbing or going down from a terrain, because you do take damage stuff. So some stuff felt kind of unreliable, but hopefully they fixed that for the global launch. But of course, there is improvements to be made. Overall, when it comes to your classes or your weapons, you can choose between different classes. It does. At the start, it didn't feel as in-depth as I wish, but I heard it does get better later on, because you can choose between different abilities and different classes. You can play like a sword master or a trooper, or they basically have different type of abilities. So you can also kind of swap around abilities and switch around, so it depends on what you like to play. So again, the class variety is really good, but again, it feels kind of slow. And the unlock rate of abilities and power scaling wasn't as fun for me. So again, it didn't feel that good, especially early game. When it comes to the combat itself, you can play both melee and range. And again, this also relates back to the crafting stuff. You need to craft. You can craft ranged weapons. It's a kind of mandatory quest line that takes you through like crafting and making sure you have weapons and stuff. And overall, again, when it comes to like using weapons and the combat felt kind of clunky, kind of slow, and it depends on the enemies too. Usually you're doing environment PvE and they have like different armor, so there is some kind of like reactive combat. You have to react to their armor, do some slow hits and stuff. But overall, I just felt like it was kind of issues with the hit detection and lock-on system and repetitive animation. So it just felt like kind of lacking when it comes to like how impactful it was. And it says that it just didn't feel that great. But again, there's a massive variety, a lot of different weapons and skills to use. So hopefully they do a little bit of more fine-tuning to the combat. Now, the other nice thing, or I don't know if it's a nice thing or bad thing, is the weapons and stuff have durabilities. So items will have to like break and repair, all that stuff in survival games, right? So you have to keep building and get stronger items, all that stuff. So combat overall is definitely the main thing that is a minus for me when it comes to the game. When it comes to the open world and the PvE content, again, you start in a massive PvE starter area. And I think it's up to like 40 players per instance. So it is kind of like instance based. You select the server, but you locked in an instance. There's dungeons that you have to explore, or enemies and resources. You have to go to different areas. Most of it is like sandlocked, but it's a lot of big areas that you can collect resources, because that's one of the main things to do in the game, right? Collect resources, build your base, get all the stuff so you can build your character. There is also timed events happening, which is going to be loot that you can obtain. So events happening all the time. And then it is the biggest thing, or the biggest place in this game is called the Deep Desert, which is like, it has PvE, but mainly it's like a PvP zone, right? And the really cool thing about this Deep Desert is to talk a little bit about dynamic maps, that the things or the areas change. So it's always like maps changing and things changing inside of these big zones. So it makes it really more dynamic and way more fun, right? And again, like I talked about the PvP and the multiplayer interaction in this game, there is a massive PvP zone. Again, when you go into the Deep Desert, and some of the zone is also like safe zone. So it kind of like you can select if you want a PvP or PvE, and again you can team up with other players. You can build together, you know, you battle for spice. That's the main thing happening around. A lot of cool loot, a lot of big loot. So a lot about like surviving, but also PvE and PvP. I do think you can choose in this game what you want to do, but it's not like a Rust style of game where you just go and destroy bases. It's more of like you meet players and you fight for certain things or areas inside the game. So overall, I think it's a really fun experience for PvE and PvP players, but many players also complained that the PvP didn't feel as impactful, or it kind of lacked balance, and it kind of will if you are like a new player fighting against an established player that have better gear and stuff. It will feel really bad in PvP, so hopefully maybe they can adjust this in some type of way. When it comes to the end game itself, is again, it is like desert control, you know, a deep desert control. Again, the big massive desert area you complete over spice fields, you know, materials, PvP objectives. That's usually what the end game will mainly be about. You know, you will be able to, you know, make sure you do a lot of politics, you know, control territories, and overall just overall raid content, massive sandstorm encounter, stuff like that. Crafting a progression is going to be part of the end game. So again, it's going to be usually the same things that you're doing, but different type of events happening, and they have all of the different type of maps and stuff. So overall end game content is you know, just playing in an open world, getting control, getting materials, fighting other players if you do enjoy PvP. But that's usually what the end game rotate is going to be about, or the content is going to be about. When it comes to the monetization, you have to talk about the monetization, because it will have you buy the game to play. There'll be cosmetic shops, there'll be battle pass systems, and they're saying so far there's no pay to win elements, and the monetization will focus on like vanity items. So overall, so far, could be a good thing. Maybe they go the route of once human. So I'm hoping that there won't be any like pay to win or anything, you know, monetary. It's going to be usually the battle pass, cosmetics, and buy to play game, right? Now, while again, I did talk a little bit about the MMORPG features. I mean, it kind of has some MMORPG features like classes, progression, a little bit of politics is going to be really important, but overall it is like a survival game. Survival is the main priority. You will have some MMO features, but overall, if I had to like put it in a genre, I would say it's more of an open world type survival game than an actual MMO or MMORPG. So overall, I have to say it is ambitious, but in my opinion, there is some things that need a little bit of polishing, like combat and stuff. And again, I only played the beta. I don't know how the end game or how the end product will look like, but it's going to be a fun game to play. I think for me, it's more of like a 50-hour type, 100-hour type game to play. Like, I'm a fan of survival games, but I don't really dive deep into it because eventually it gets boring for me. And like, even though it's Dune Awakening is based on the sand, me personally, I like a little more diversity when it comes to the open world. I am not too much fan of everything being like sand related, even though they do have dungeons and events and stuff that will be happening. Just looking at a sand map all day might make me go crazy. But overall, that's my first impressions of playing the game. I had fun time. I think always like survival games, you know, progressing through survival games is really fun. So I'm really excited to see what more that it has to offer. But thank you so much for watching. Will you guys be checking out Dune Awakening? Let me know. Check out this video right here, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.